tonight. These are some of the core values as to why we were founded as a country at the very beginning. The work ethic, that the more we worked and the better we did our responsibilities, the more we would get rewarded. These are some of the things that we need to still be instilling in our children. The good work ethic, doing for your neighbor, doing for others as you would do for themselves, the golden rule. And we need to not forget that because that's what made us great as a nation. We don't want to be exploiting people and using them. No, but we need to see how we can serve. We need to see how we can help. We need to see how we can build up, where we can build up communities, where we can build up people, the churches, where we can go and look for a higher power to help us in moments of need. Not turn to liquor, not turn to drugs, not turn to illicit sex, but the core values of what makes a family strong in helping each other, helping the community. Excuse me. I remember when I was little, up until I was like about 10 or 11 years old, in that little strip where we lived. My great grandmother lived across the street, and I remember how she always made me feel special. She had many great grandchildren. I was a great grandchild. And I would go visit her because I enjoyed her lifestyle. It was something from another almost century. She had her little garden where she would grow corn, she would grow beans, she would grow tomatoes, she would grow onions, and then she would get the corn and she would grind it and boil it with lime, and then go into a little room that she had where she used to grind the corn after she boiled it, and then she would grind it in that what they used to call a metate. It was like a grinder with a big stone, and then she would form her tortillas from that, her corn tortillas. She would go into her garden and get her pinto beans and garlic and onions and tomatoes that she would grow in her garden, and she would make this very delicious pinto beans, frijoles, and then she would fry them, and they were delicious, and it was so minimal but yet it was so satisfying and so delicious. Excuse me. And she would always make everybody feel welcome and everybody feel important. And she was like in her 80s when I was a little kid. And she couldn't see that well anymore. And she loved to sew. And she would always want me to thread her needle because she would like make her clothes. And she always made me feel important. And I would water her garden. She had these beautiful flowers, morning glories. She had a lot of plants, and she would sew, and she would make her own food, and the other cousins and great grandchildren would go hunting. They would bring in rabbits, they would bring in quail and birds, and they would be slaughtered. She would boil them and make this delicious meat stews along with the vegetables that she would grow in her garden. But she made us all feel important. And there was no fighting, there was no jealousy. It was always like camaraderie, helping each other. And we need to go back to that. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule. And we do need to go back to that. Yes, this country is competitive, and we've become very wealthy financially. But we need to not forget the core values as to what made us great, and being there for each other, building our communities, building the churches, and doing for others as we would have them do for us. So my challenge, in this show and this series that I want to do in the involvement of parents, is to go back to some of these core values. I want to challenge the parents to get involved in their children's education, for them to read to them every day, Do you know that when we read half an hour a day to your child, it improves your grade level up to about 3 years worth? So important for us to read to them and to see them read, to come in, do their homework, have a good warm meal, do little chores around the house, do their homework, and going back to the family unit as to what was important back then, and it's still important. That's why this country became so great. It became one of the greatest countries in the world. We need to go back to our moral values. We need to go back to the higher power as to what we believe. God, I do feel that we have a higher power that we can call on to and will enable us and encourage us to go forth. So, my challenge in this series that I'm going to be doing is to try to stay together as a family unit, read to your children, value education, value service, and taking care of your neighbor as you would yourself. So I hope that you will enjoy this series because it promises, I feel, to promise you that you're not going to regret following this show, the Dr. S show with parental involvement. I think it will make a difference and we'll go back to our core values that are so needed in this country right now, where we're for each other. We build each other up and challenge each other and be good to each other. The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I challenge you to think about some of these things and put them into action. Thank you so much for your participation in watching this program. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Flores with the Dr. S Show. Thank you.